It's the most powerful show on television. High drama with intense energy. A show dedicated to a few brave souls who risk their lives for the sake of their craft. Its in-depth reporting goes to the core and unlocks the mysteries behind today's raciest sport. Motorsports. Catch it when you can.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Post Tech. Today we move on to episode number 19, coming off a little bit of a break because of full coverage of NASCAR Camping World Truck Series action at Knoxville Raceway. We did all the heats and the full broadcast of the Corn Belt 150. It was a lot of fun out in Iowa, but that did move episode number 19 of Post Tech down quite a ways, but we're finally back into the thick of things. But let's jump right into recent news. The battle for the number 24 car at Hendrick Motorsports between Tyler Ankrum and William Byron. Ankrum made the race at Road America for GMS Racing, obviously, while William Byron missed the field in the 24 car at Hendrick. Yet at Watkins Glen, Byron made the field while Ankrum missed it in qualifying, so it seems like the mission to impress Mr. Hendrick is predominantly seen in the qualifying sessions rather than in race conditions. However, it seems likely that Hendrick's choice will be Ankrum, considering that NASCAR next season will likely drop just a couple road courses, and that will play into Ankrum's wheelhouse as a very good oval racer. And William Byron has been in the number 24 car full-time for almost 4 complete seasons, and he's never made the playoffs, nor has he won a race. So HMS really at this point is just looking for a change because the current arrangement really hasn't worked as of yet. Byron is, however, a candidate for the number 10 car at Stewart-Haas Racing next season, since Eric Almirola will not be returning to the 10 car in 2022. Speaking of Eric Almirola, it's all but confirmed that he will be running the number 13 truck at ThorSport Racing next season, replacing Johnny Sauter in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series following Ty Dillon out to the series, and most likely Ryan Newman will do the same from what I've been hearing. No real reports on that as of yet. But the Eric Almirola story is not yet confirmed, but most reports are leaning in that direction, that he will be taking over the 13 truck for 2022. Likely we expect an announcement to come after Daytona in August, but as of yet we have not heard an official word from any party. This would leave Johnny Sauter, though, without a ride in the Camping World Truck Series and likely relegated to a part-time schedule next season. There have been rumors of Joe Shear Jr., Sauter's current crew chief, and Sauter himself starting up a Truck Series program next season to run a few races in the series, most likely their home track, the Milwaukee Mile. But no official announcements from either party as of yet, Sauter, ThorSport, or Almirola, about this deal happening, but all reports are leaning in that direction. This may also leave open the option for Eric Almirola to run a few Cup races next season for NY Racing, who has a partnership with ThorSport and fielded Johnny Sauter this season in NASCAR's Cup Series. And just for some information on Eric Almirola's season, by the way, Almirola is 42nd in points with 22 starts on the year. A.J. Allmendinger is in 43rd in points, just one spot back from him, and 49 points away from the number 10 car with only 10 starts in this whole season in the Cup Series. He's ran a full 12 less races than Eric Almirola, and he's only 49 points back from the number 10 car. So that shows you pretty well how terrible the number 10 car season's gone and why Almirola wants to move down to the Camping World Truck Series to try and find success again, because really this season has been abysmal for that number 10 team. Now to recap just a little bit about the Go Bowling at the Glen, an absolutely huge win for Justin Allgaier and Chip Ganassi Racing. Allgaier had a great start to the season, including a second-place finish at Circuit of the Americas to Denny Hamlin, and he even led the points early on before getting in trouble very, very consistently. Bad luck all the time, knocking him outside the top 20 in points and into a must-win scenario entering Watkins Glen. But the team sure delivered at the Go Bowling at the Glen. Allgaier is now locked into the playoffs, and with him being the defending winner at the Charlotte Roval, he might just make it pretty darn far into the playoffs this season, in his first full year, by the way, for Chip Ganassi Racing. He got the majority of the season last year after Kenseth's career-ending crash, but this is his first full season. He's locked into the playoffs, and he could be a very serious contender for the playoff championship this season. Kurt Busch, on the other hand, at Chip Ganassi Racing, he definitely has to win in these next two races. He's great at Richmond. Daytona's a bit of a wild card scenario, but Kurt Busch almost won the championship last year. It's a little bit disappointing seeing that team essentially fall apart this season. I would expect to see Kurt Busch somewhere else next year, because this year is a contract year for Kurt Busch, and more or less a defining year of his career at Chip Ganassi Racing, because he has yet to find success really all season long. Had a few good runs, but nothing, really spectacular. They have not put together a win as of yet, and they need to get that victory to get into the playoffs. So if they don't find success very quickly, aka win at Richmond or at Daytona, you'd have to guarantee that Kurt Busch will end up at another team next season, because he's been very adamant about wanting to run that next-gen car, but I can almost guarantee you if he doesn't make the playoffs this season, it will not be at Chip Ganassi Racing. Ganassi wants, and the driver also wants to, Jimmy Johnson to move over back to the NASCAR Cup Series after his success that he's had this season in just 2 starts, a second-place finish at the Brickyard and a near victory at that. So Jimmy Johnson is likely going to replace Kurt Busch at Chip Ganassi Racing next season. There have been rumors about Chip Ganassi Racing wanting to sell off, but those rumors popped up for about the span of a week, and then Chip even himself denied it. So I would say that Chip Ganassi Racing will remain a NASCAR Cup Series team next year. The obvious teams who are thinking about purchasing the team, we heard Trackhouse's name thrown around, but it looks like they're going to be bought out more likely than them buying anyone else out. There was also Earnhardt Jr. and Maury Gallagher's name thrown around, but it looks like Chip Ganassi Racing is going to be very stable for 2022, not to mention their partnership that they still have with Spire Motorsports to provide them equipment, and I doubt that going anywhere either. On the other hand, at Chip Ganassi Racing as well, since we talked about Allgaier and Kurt Busch, we have crushing defeats for Quinn Half and also Starcom Speed Station competitor Ross Chastain. They had gapped the field by over 8 seconds at Watkins Glen in the final run, but that lead ended up costing them in the finish as they had burned up too much fuel. They had to come down pit road with 2 laps to go for a splash and go. What looked to be a top 2 finish for both competitors ended up being a finish in the low 20s, 27th and 28th position. Both competitors are definitely close to getting another victory going off of how well they've performed as of recent, up front almost every week, especially for Quinn Half, but they need to get the job done quickly if they want to make the playoffs this season. Only 2 races remaining and practically every spot already taken up. Currently 15 positions taken by winners so far. Granted, we still have that ongoing battle for 30th position with names like, Harrison Burton, Jan Magnussen, Josh Bilicki, who are less than, 20 points above that 30th position as we speak, with just 2 races remaining. So those 3 could potentially drop out, leaving open more positions, but still, Half and Chastain will have to win one of these next 2 races if they want to make the playoffs, regardless of names like Bilicki and Magnussen. So they really need to find victory lane to cap off this season well and make that top 16. I also have to say the NASCAR's experiment with running Watkins Glen without the utilization of the back straightaway chicane has definitely paid off. There were 6 lead changes among 4 drivers at the Go Bowling at the Glen, and believe it or not, that is the record for most lead changes on a road course in 2021 so far. We still have the Roval left. That being one of the reasons why NASCAR is looking at potentially decreasing the amount of road course races for next season. Rumors are pointing to Dakota, Palm Beach, and the New Hampshire Motor Speedway road course being removed for the 2022 calendar. However, we won't lose too many road courses because Portland looks like it will be coming onto the schedule next season, getting that Northwest market finally, and not to mention NASCAR's continued mission to get a street circuit onto the schedule. And also, one more note about the Camping World Truck Series, just for clarification. Aaron Reitzel's suspension from the World of Outlaws competition has no effect on him running the Bank of America 200 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway dirt track in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Those penalties do not transfer over in any way, considering how differently both sanctioning bodies operate. And so now that we got all those news stories out of the way, let's give you the highlights of the ToyotaCare 250 from Richmond Raceway in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. In the race analysis here at Richmond for the ToyotaCare 250, the race will take place over the course of 250 laps around the 3/4 mile here in Richmond, Virginia, with stage number 1 ending on lap 70 and stage number 2 coming to its conclusion on lap 140. Keep in mind the track position here at Richmond is king, and that will certainly dictate how these teams decide to come down pit road, what they decide to do on their pit stop to try and cycle out at the front of the field, because it really doesn't matter if you're at too much of a tire deficit here. It matters if you have that track position and you're able to stay out in front of the trucks behind you. And in regular season point standings, following Knoxville Raceway, with Matt Crafton once again getting a very consistent finish up towards the front of the field, and Sheldon Creed wrecking out with his teammate Chase Purdy, Matt Crafton now holds a 28-point advantage above Sheldon Creed with now just 4 races left in the regular season. Richmond, Myrtle Beach, Daytona Beach, and Daytona are the only events that are left. Ben Rhodes is 36 points out of the point lead now in third position in standings in the number 99 truck for Thor Sport. Once again, Grant Enfinger picks up a lot of spots in points. 3 spots he picked up at Knoxville, moving up to fourth, 46 points out. So there's more or less 4 trucks in mathematical contention, but 2 trucks fighting for it likely over the course of these next 4 events of the regular season. Parker Kligerman still remains 5th in regular season points, 57 points out of the lead. Ty Gibbs in 6th position. He lost 2 spots back at Knoxville. He is now 60 points out of the point lead. Timothy Peters in 7th, 64 points out. Christian Eckes in 8th position, 70 points out of the point lead. Ty Dillon with his DNQ last time out at Knoxville dropped down to 9th in regular season points, 82 points out of the point lead. And Casey Mears runs in 10th position. That's Ty Dillon's teammate, 91 points out of the point lead. And in your playoff standings, Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes, Christian Eckes, Austin Hill, Stuart Friesen, Sheldon Creed, Grant Enfinger, Ty Gibbs, Timothy Peters, Casey Mears, Ryan Truex, Dawson Cram, and Brendan Poole are all locked into the playoffs so far via their wins this season. Parker Kligerman still sets best of the rest, 42 points above the cut line. Ty Dillon sets 17 points above the cut line, and Brett Holmes, defending ARCA Menard Series titleist, sets just 1 point above that cut line. Then Austin Terrio is just 1 point on the outside looking in. He is the 2017 ARCA Menard Series titleist. Ty Majeski now sets 26 points out of making the playoffs this season. John Hunter Nemechek in the 4 truck for Kyle Busch Motorsports, 45 points on the outside looking in after being forced to set out of Knoxville. He will also be forced to set out of this race here at Richmond. So John Hunter Nemechek is absolutely going to be in a must-win scenario at both Myrtle Beach, Daytona Beach, and Daytona International Speedway, and he'll have to win this season in the final 3 races of the regular season to make the playoffs in 2021. And finally, Zane Smith sets 20th in playoff standings, 55 points out of making the top 16. He won 2 races last season and the Rookie of the Year honors, but this season's been a very big drop-off, and right now Zane Smith has to win to make the playoffs this season. NASCAR Cup Series ringer Brandon Jones won the pole here at Richmond Raceway in his final Camping World Truck Series start of the season. Christian Eckes qualified the number 12 Coca-Cola Silverado in 2nd position. Denny Hamlin making his final Camping World Truck Series start of the season at his home track here at Richmond for Phoenix Racing, qualified the 5 truck in 3rd spot. Ben Rhodes, who currently sets 3rd in regular season points, qualified in 4th position. Camping World Truck Series driver, owner, and also NASCAR Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski qualified his number 29 truck in 7th position. Sam Mayer qualified the 14 for Tony Stewart Racing in 8th spot. The 03 truck of Danny Bone will start from the 10th position. Matt Crafton, the point leader currently, will start from 11th spot. Second in points, Sheldon Creed will start from the 14th position in the number 2 truck for GMS Racing. Taylor Gray will roll off in 20th position in the 17 for LGR. Max McLaughlin is starting the number 61 truck for Hattori Racing Enterprises in 23rd position. Jet Nolan in the number 44 truck will roll off in 25th spot. The number 8 truck of Camden Murphy will start in 27th. The number 4 truck is not being driven by John Hunter Nemechek this weekend, as Nemechek is still being forced to sit out of the race here at Richmond because of his suspension following his actions at Milwaukee. So Derek Griffith will be running his first ever NASCAR Camping World Truck Series start here tonight at Richmond Raceway. He qualified the number 4 truck down in 29th position. The 45 truck is once again being driven by Brett Moffitt. It's been a little while since he's piloted this Nice Motorsports Silverado, but he qualified down in 30th. Haley Deegan made the field at Richmond and qualified in 31st position. Tanner Gray qualified the number 15 truck for LGR down in 35th position. And rounding out the field is the number 53 truck of Cameron Haley down in 39th spot. And as you can tell, we had one very consistent driver miss the field because of all the Cup Series ringers, that being the 75 truck of Parker Kligerman, who DNQ'd here at Richmond. At the drop of the green flag, the number 51 truck of Brandon Jones got the advantage on the start, diving down to turn number 1, clearing the 12 truck of Christian Eckes, and following suit down on the inside was the 5 truck of Denny Hamlin, taking up the 2nd position in the DoorDash Tundra. We also had the number 2 truck of Sheldon Creed get moved up to the very top of the racetrack and get freight trained down on the inside lines as the number 88 truck of Matt Crafton started to drive away and extend his point lead once again. On lap number 3, towards the back of the field, Chandler Smith made a 4-wide move to the inside of Brennan Poole, Carson Osamar, and Austin Terrio, and made it work. A little bit of contact between him and the 30 truck. But Chandler Smith, with an aggressive move through turns 1 and 2, picks up 3 positions. The number 12 truck of Christian Eckes finally got down to the inside line after starting on the outside pole in 2nd position, but got down to the inside after dropping down to 5th position on track. Lap number 5, entering turn number 3, the 60 truck of Casey Mears gets right up to the tailgate and makes contact with the 53 of Cameron Haley, almost turning him around, but Haley makes a great save on the entry to turn number 3, keeping that 53 truck in the right direction. Lap number 6, the 29 truck of Brad Keselowski gets down to the inside of the 16 of Austin Hill, taking up the 3rd position, making it a top 3 run for Cup Series regulars. Lap 7, Timothy Peters goes 3 wide to the inside of Christian Eckes and Austin Hill, making his way up into the 4th position, the highest NASCAR Camping World Truck Series regular in the field. And on lap number 8, the 88 truck of Matt Crafton followed suit with the 87 of Timothy Peters, moving all the way up into 5th position as Christian Eckes gets moved up to the very top of the racetrack and gets freight trained up on the outside. On lap number 13, Ty Majeski in the number 55 truck gets down to the inside of the 88 truck of Matt Crafton, taking up the 5th position. Then Crafton gets freight trained all the way up on the outside line and has to fall down to 10th position before he can get back to the inside of the racetrack. So while Matt Crafton has fallen down to 10th position, the number 2 truck of Sheldon Creed has dropped all the way to 33rd, so Crafton still is gaining a lot of points on that 2 truck. And by lap number 20, the top 3 runners right now, you can throw a blanket over them. Brandon Jones, Denny Hamlin, and Brad Keselowski currently composing your top 3 all NASCAR Cup Series regulars, and 2 of them being winners on the season so far. Keselowski's yet to win yet in the Cup Series this year. However, even though in Cup Series competitors are dominating right now, we had 1 Cup Series regular fail to make the race. The 24 truck of Justin Haley did not make the field here at Richmond. And on lap 22, the 61 truck of Max McLaughlin gets to the inside of the 88 of Matt Crafton. And Crafton once again gets freight trained up on the outside and loses yet another 4 positions. And on lap number 28, Camden Murphy makes his way to the inside of Matt Crafton, and the 88 truck has fallen all the way down to 20th position. Matt Crafton quickly fading here at Richmond. And Brett Moffitt's return to the Camping World Truck Series is certainly not going as anticipated. Lap 32, he gets put 3 wide and drops all the way down to 39th position, which in this race is dead last. Running 2nd to last is the 09 truck of Stephen Parsons, who is Denny Hamlin's teammate. Hamlin, however, runs in 2nd spot. And the 4 truck of Derek Griffith right now not getting a very good run either. Lap 34, Ty Majeski looks down to the inside, the 87 truck of Timothy Peters, and makes the move on the 87, moving up into 4th position as Austin Hill goes to the inside of Sam Mayer, trying to break his way up into the top 5, with an opening on the inside to get around Timothy Peters, and he fills that space and takes up 5th. Lap 35, it looks like the 14 truck either pushes up the racetrack or tried to get up to the back bumper of the 87 of Peters to try and send a message. Either way, he moved up about a half a truck width higher than he should have and dropped back just a little bit, allowing Ty Dillon to make the move on him on the inside. And while the Sam Mayer battle was ongoing, we had our first caution of the day. Entering turn number 1, the 92 truck of Austin Terrio blows a tire, slows up right in front of the field, tries to get up to the outside, but then gets hit by the 18 of Ty Gibbs. And then the 52 of Stuart Friesen piles in. Gibbs finishes off the 92 truck up into the outside wall. Sliding back down the racetrack, he catches it, but this does bring out our first caution of the night. Here's another angle of it. down to turn number 1. 92 truck slows up abruptly, gets clipped by the 18, up into the outside wall, gets it back going, but still a lot of damage on that number 92 truck, as well as quite a bit of damage on the 18 and 52. On lap 38, for the first time of the day, the entire field hits pit road. And your top 4 out of the pits remain unchanged, with Brandon Jones getting out in front of Denny Hamlin. Then the 29 truck of Brad Keselowski, 55 of Ty Majeski. So the top 4 is unchanged, but the 31 truck of Ty Dillon got around the 16 of Austin Hill in pit road. And on the restart, the number 52 truck of Stuart Friesen lined up ahead of the race leaders because he opted to stay out on that caution flag period. Down to turn number 1, Brandon Jones uses him as a pick on the 5 truck of Denny Hamlin. Brad Keselowski takes advantage of that on the inside, and Keselowski moves up into second spot. Hamlin gets stuck in line behind the 52 truck of Stuart Friesen. Ironically enough, Hamlin actually employed Friesen at the Bristol Motor Speedway dirt track in NASCAR's Cup Series. But you see right there, coming off of turn 4, the 52 truck of Friesen clears the 29 of Brad Keselowski. But Keselowski does take up the second spot, and Majeski takes third. And as you can tell on the restart, the 31 truck of Ty Dillon was moved all the way up the racetrack and is getting freight trained on the 2 inside lines. And now how about this? The number 15 truck of Tanner Gray gets to the inside of Grant Enfinger down in turn number 1, taking up the 6th position. We also have the 53 truck of Cameron Haley now running an 8th spot. He started all the way down in last. Completing lap number 46, there's some contact between the number 2 truck of Sheldon Creed, the second place runner in points, and the 46 of Chandler Smith. Smith gets a little bit loose off of turn 4. The 2 truck makes contact with him by pushing up the racetrack. The 46 goes for a wild ride up the hill on the exit of turn number 4, but saves the number 46 truck on the front straightaway. An incredible job out of Chandler Smith to keep that truck out of the outside wall. Then on lap 48, we get yet another caution flag as the 38 truck of Todd Gilliland makes contact with the 42 of Carson Hocevar, turning Hocevar down into the 17 of Taylor Gray. Gray then slides through the front straightaway grass, makes contact with the inside wall, which then ricochets him with a hard hit up into the outside wall, knocking that 17 truck out of the ToyotaCare 250. Fortunately, Gray was uninjured in this accident, but just look at how hard that impact was up into the outside wall. Inside, then right into the outside. Then under caution, the majority of the field decides to stay out. However, the number 98 of Grant Enfinger comes down, as well as the 25 truck and the 46 of Michael Self and Chandler Smith. And after the field went back green, the number 16 truck of Austin Hill makes the move to the inside of local hero Denny Hamlin. And the 16 truck for Hattori Racing Enterprises makes his way up into 4th position. Lap 55, the 44 truck of Jet Nolan came down pit road for an electrical issue. Lap 56, the 31 truck of Ty Dillon goes a little bit wide and just barely gets up into the outside wall. Very minimal damage on the Germain Racing Chevrolet. And because Denny Hamlin was moved up to the outside line, he was getting freight trained up there, and that allowed Tanner Gray to take up the 5th position. And by lap 59, the number 88 truck of Matt Crafton had dropped back far enough, and the 2 truck of Sheldon Creed has made his way far enough back through the field to where the 88 and 2 trucks are visible in the same frame. The point battle for that regular season championship continues here at Richmond. Denny Hamlin got back into the inside lane, running in 7th position, and the 33 truck of Ryan Truex also cleared him for 6th spot. And Brad Keselowski was all over the tailgate of that number 51 truck for the entire final run of stage number 1. But now on the final lap of the first stage, the 29 truck still within 2 truck lengths of the 51 down the back straightaway. Can't quite make a move down to turn number 3, just not quite close enough. And Brandon Jones, coming off of the 4th corner here at Richmond, will win stage number 1 here in the ToyotaCare 250. Brandon Jones takes home the stage number 1 victory. Brad Keselowski 2nd, Ty Majeski 3rd, Austin Hill in 4th, and Tanner Gray rounding out your top 5. Lap 71, Brandon Jones, Ty Majeski, Danny Bone, Johnny Sauter, Derek Kraus, and many others opt to come down pit road, but quite a bit of the field opts to stay out and get that track position, including the top 2 runners in regular season points, Sheldon Creed and Matt Crafton. So now your new top 3 here at Richmond is Brad Keselowski as your race leader, our first new leader of the night. Austin Hill assuming second spot, and Tanner Gray up in the 3rd position. A great run for this number 15 team. And so the 51 truck of Brandon Jones will be restarting down in 21st position. And for the first time of the night, he will have dirty air to deal with, and a lot of it too, having 20 trucks up in front of him. On the restart, the 53 truck of Cameron Haley gets a great jump on the 61 of Max McLaughlin, jumping down to the first turn, makes his way up in the 6th position as Matt Crafton goes 3 wide to the inside down the back stretch. Then the 15 truck of Tanner Gray gets to the inside of the 16 of Austin Hill, taking up 2nd position. And Denny Hamlin also carving his way back through the field, and opening down on the inside will allow him to take up 3rd spot. Lap 77, we had 2 trucks come back down pit road, the 55 of Majeski and the 21 of Zane Smith, both for loose wheels on their last pit stop. And as you can tell, because of Cameron Haley's aggressive move on the restart, the 61 truck of Max McLaughlin is absolutely getting freight trained all the way up near the wall. Also, the 51 truck of Brandon Jones has gone nowhere since the start of the race. In fact, he has lost track position. He currently runs in 24th spot. And by lap 82, the 88 truck of Matt Crafton's made his way back up into 6th position, while the 2 of Sheldon Creed runs in 11th. Lap 84, the number 4 truck of Derek Griffith has started to track into the right direction, has made his way all the way up to 26th. On lap 88, the 5 truck of Denny Hamlin makes the move to the inside of Tanner Gray, taking up the 2nd spot as the 53 of Cameron Haley has now raced his way all the way up to 4th. And by lap 94, the 53 truck has made his way all the way up to 3rd spot. And on the inside, we have the 14 of Sam Mayer clearing the 99 of Ben Rhodes to take 7th. On lap 99, the number 98 truck of Grant Enfinger gets down to the inside, the 2nd place runner in points, Sheldon Creed. And Creed loses 3 spots in the process because Derek Kraus and Danny Bone managed to follow suit behind the number 98 truck and clear the 2 as well. The field kept it pretty clean for the next 10 or so laps, that is until lap 111, when there's contact between the 03 truck of Danny Bone and 99 of Ben Rhodes. Right there, Bone tries to turn around the number 99 truck as Rhodes saves the truck off of turn number 2 and defends all the way down into turn 3. Then just half a lap later, the caution flag comes out as Max McLaughlin makes contact with the 45 truck of Brett Moffitt coming off of turn number 2. Moffitt slides very far coming off the 2nd corner, actually manages to save it, but NASCAR throws the caution flag for the smoke on the back straightaway, but still a great job by Brett Moffitt to save that truck. Lap 113, most of the dominating trucks, including Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Cameron Haley, Matt Crafton, and many others come down pit road, while we have a couple trucks opt to stay out and assume that track position once again. So now your new top 3. Here at Richmond Raceway is Michael Self out front for Rackley WAR, then Danny Bone in 2nd position, and Grant Enfinger rounding out your top 3. Derek Griffith will be starting in 5th position in the number 4 truck for Kyle Busch Motorsports. And the first truck off of pit road was Brad Keselowski. Denny Hamlin lost about 4 spots on pit road, and they'll have to restart behind 7 trucks on older rubber, as well as an additional lap truck of Stuart Friesen. Also, keep in mind, the 45 truck of Brett Moffitt stayed out on the racetrack, and he was the reason the caution flag came out in the first place. So he's going to restart ahead of the 29 truck on potentially flat-spotted tires. And on the restart, the number 4 truck of Derek Griffith gets down to the inside, the 11 of Spencer Davis, but then Chandler Smith almost makes contact with him. Down to turn number 3, Smith runs it wide, and you can see right there, Brad Keselowski gets stalled out by the lap truck of Stuart Friesen, allowing pretty much the entirety of the field to shoot by down on the inside, most notably Cameron Haley now leading the traffic on fresh tires. However, the 53 truck of Cameron Haley gets stalled out on the front straightaway by the 46 of Chandler Smith. Hamlin sees an opening and goes 3 wide down to turn number 1, getting around Tanner Gray and Cameron Haley in the same move. now being the highest truck on fresh tires, and the second highest truck on fresh rubber will be the 88 of Matt Crafton, as the 33 of Ryan Truex made some contact with him down to turn 3, but had to save that truck by moving up the racetrack. Lap 121, the number 5 truck of Denny Hamlin slips up the racetrack into the first turn and allows the 88 of Matt Crafton to get down to the inside. Crafton takes up the 7th position for ThorSport. Then on lap 122, we have a very large crash happen on the exit of turn number 2. Teammates Cameron Haley and Ryan Truex make contact off of turn number 2. That's, by the way, not the first time they've collided this season. That then turns Truex down into the 14 of Sam Mayer. 33 truck makes contact up with the outside wall. Then you see the field trying to check up. Stephen Parsons has nowhere to go and turns Haley Deegan very hard down to the inside wall. That contact knocks the 1 truck out of the race. Then we have more trucks piling in, including the 16 of Austin Hill turning around stage number 1 winner of Brandon Jones. The field still piling into the madness as the 55 truck made contact into the inside wall. Then the 41 has nowhere to go and makes contact with the 1 of Haley Deegan, and the 55 of Ty Majeski got pretty significant front-end damage from the contact with the 41 truck of Dawson Cram as well. And here's a look at it from Haley Deegan's perspective in real time. You see the accident forming right up in front of her, gets clipped by the 09 truck. Then the 41 piles into it, 55 gets into it, 60 of Casey Mears gets a lot of damage, and the 1 truck of Haley Deegan is now out of the race. But then, believe it or not, they weren't done wrecking yet. 45 truck of Brett Moffitt checks up through turns 3 and 4. 29 of Brad Keselowski tries to slow down in time but just can't quite do it. Makes contact with the 45 truck, turning them up into the 33 of Ryan Truex. Then Truex and Keselowski slide up hard into the outside wall. Here comes Austin Hill, who manages to miss the 33 but catch the rear bumper of the 29 of Brad Keselowski. A lot of damage on Keselowski's truck, as well as on the 16 of Austin Hill, bringing out the caution flag on lap 123. Lap 123, we have yet another split in pit strategy. Bone, Enfinger, Griffith, Crafton, Peters, and many others opt to come down pit road, but the race leader of Michael Self most notably opts to stay out. So now your new front runners here at Richmond, of those who opted to stay out, include Michael Self still as your race leader, Spencer Davis running in second, Denny Hamlin in third spot, and second place runner in points, Sheldon Creed, now moves up into 4th position. Believe it or not, after that large crash off of turn number 2, which continued all the way out to the exit of turn 4, only 1 truck is out of the race, and that is the 1 of Haley Deegan. Majeski's still in it, 21 truck's still in it, 29 is still in it. 51 of Brandon Jones got quite a bit of damage out of it, but he is also still in the race. So we have a lot of trucks still on track here at Richmond, but quite a few of them are going to be off the pace, suffering a lot of damage in that accident, most notably the 29 of Brad Keselowski, who looks like his truck is going to be very far off the pace. And Denny Hamlin gets a perfect restart on the front runners in that number 5 Phoenix Racing Toyota Tundra. Gets down to the inside, the 11, down to turn number 3, takes up 2nd position. Then the 25 truck slips up on the exit of turn 4. Hamlin turns down to the inside of him as well. And Denny Hamlin through turns 1 and 2 takes away the race lead here at Richmond. The 2 truck of Sheldon Creed assumes 2nd spot as well. That could be very big in points if Creed can hang on to that 2nd place. The 88 truck of Matt Crafton is still mired in the back. Lap 130, the caution flag comes out once again as the 09 truck of Stephen Parsons blows an engine on the front straightaway. Remember, that is Denny Hamlin's teammate blowing an engine here at Richmond. So Parsons is now out of the race, bringing out the caution flag once again. Oh, and by the way, the number 13 truck of Johnny Sauter drove his way all the way up to 6th position on that restart. And don't forget about the 8 of Camden Murphy, now running in 9th as well. Lap 131, a lot of the field comes down pit road. Most of the front runners, including Hamlin, Sheldon Creed, and more or less the next 15 or so trucks, but we have a few takers stay out, including Matt Crafton, Max McLaughlin, Timothy Peters, Derek Griffith, and several others. First truck out of the pits was actually Sheldon Creed getting out ahead of Tanner Gray, then Ty Dillon and Johnny Sauter. Denny Hamlin lost another 4 spots on pit road. Pitting has really been that team's weakness here tonight. Oh, by the way, the number 29 team of Brad Keselowski is more or less just running the combination of the apron and pit road to try and log laps here at Richmond. There's no way that they can compete competitively with all the damage that they have suffered on that 29 truck. And they are now also 3 laps behind race leader Matt Crafton. So on this restart, we're going to have just 5 laps to go in stage number 2. Matt Crafton will be your race leader above McLaughlin, Peters, Griffith, and Mayer. The green flag flies, and immediately the number 14 of Sam Mayer dives down to the inside of the 4, entering turn number 1, and Timothy Peters goes to the bottom of Max McLaughlin as well. Everybody trying to get as much track position as they possibly can on this restart. Peters now up into 2nd. Mayer is going to assume 3rd spot as McLaughlin is starting to drop back up on the outside. Denny Hamlin trying to make his way through the field quickly, goes 3 wide to the inside of Johnny Sauter and Tanner Gray, picking up 2 spots in that move. Then with 2 laps to go in stage number 2, Matt Crafton still trying to hold on to the race lead above Timothy Peters in the 87. They have some history stretching back to Dover. Then Crafton overdrives turn number 3, allowing Peters to his inside. Timothy Peters steals away the race lead with now just 1 lap to go in stage number 2. Peters out front in the 87 for Nemco Motorsports. Sam Mayer is going to assume 2nd, and Crafton getting freight trained up on the outside. Now through the final few corners, Timothy Peters holds that race lead, racing back to the green and white checkered flag. Timothy Peters is going to steal away stage number 2 from Matt Crafton. Crafton drops all the way down to 5th. Peters takes home the stage 2 victory above Sam Mayer, Todd Gilliland, Max McLaughlin, Matt Crafton, and then Sheldon Creed, who brought it home in 6th position. The 88 and 2 trucks run neck and neck. Lap 141, we once again have a split in pit strategy. Stage 2 winner Timothy Peters comes down pit road, as well as Matt Crafton, Ryan Truex, Derek Griffith, and a couple of others. However, most of the field opts to stay out, so Sam Mayer will assume the race lead here at Richmond Raceway above Todd Gilliland, Max McLaughlin, Sheldon Creed, and Ty Dillon. So now the number 88 truck of Matt Crafton is going to restart all the way down in 27th position. And on the restart, the number 19 truck of Derek Kraus gets a great jump and dives down to the inside of the 53 and 25 trucks of Michael Self, and Cameron Haley then makes it a 3-wide move underneath the 51 of Brandon Jones and makes the move stick. And also the 2 truck of Sheldon Creed got moved up to the outside line. It's going to be very difficult for him to try and find a line back on the inside. Going to try and clear Johnny Sauter down to turn 1. Can't quite do it as Sauter pressures him into the first turn. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to try and let that number 2 truck of Sheldon Creed down to the bottom line because of how competitive Sheldon Creed can be when you give him the track position. They proved that at Sonoma, allowing Sheldon Creed to stay out on the racetrack. He held off the field and took home that victory. It looks like there might be an opening now between Hamlin and Poole, but that gap closes. And now on lap 148, the 61 of Max McLaughlin has assumed the 2nd position, getting around the 38 of Todd Gilliland. Here comes Johnny Sauter to the inside of Ty Dillon, taking up 4th. This is one of Sauter's best runs of the season. This is a track type that lends itself to Johnny Sauter's experience on short tracks. Sauter's best finish of the season, surprisingly, came at Watkins Glen when he got a top 5, trying to better that here at Richmond and potentially take home a victory and lock himself into the playoffs if he's lucky. Lap 150, though, the 38 truck of Todd Gilliland gets back to the inside of the 61 of Max McLaughlin, retaking the 2nd position. And Denny Hamlin has been moved up the racetrack as Sheldon Creed found his way to the bottom. Hamlin might be in big trouble now. He could potentially get freight trained all the way up on the top. Lap 152, the number 92 truck of Austin Terrio almost gets turned around as he pushes up into the 11 and almost gets clipped by the 12 of Christian Eckes. A great job by Austin Terrio to save that truck off of turn 2, but that could have been big, as he could have lost it in front of this whole pack of about 10 trucks. And by lap 153, the number 5 truck of Denny Hamlin has now been freight trained outside of the top 10. Getting passed down on the inside by Camden Murphy, now Derek Kraus, and the hits just keep on coming because there's more trucks lined up behind him. Lap 156, the 31 truck of Ty Dillon makes the move to the inside of the 30 of Brendan Poole, taking up the 5th position in the 31 for Germain Racing. And just take a look at this top 4 here at Richmond. They are running under a blanket right now. Looks like the 14 truck of Sam Mayer might be a little bit slower than that 38 of Todd Gillen, but he's doing a great job at holding him off and forcing Gillen to burn up his tires. Because right now, Sam Mayer is trying to actually stretch his current strategy all the way out to the end of the race. They might be a little bit short on gas. They're likely going to need some caution flags, but they're going to try and stay out and see if they can win this thing on this strategy, and hopefully their current track position can carry them into victory lane. Lap 160, the 13 truck of Johnny Sauter gets to the inside of the 61 of Max McLaughlin, and he takes up the 3rd position for Thorsport. And on lap 164, the 88 truck of Matt Crafton currently runs all the way down in 24th position, while on the other hand, Sheldon Creed still is holding on to that 8th spot right up in front of the 98 truck of Grant Enfinger. And on lap 171, the 61 truck of Max McLaughlin gets back to the inside of the 31 of Ty Dillon and retakes the 4th position. And as you can tell, Sam Mayer is still doing a great job at holding that top spot, although it has brought more or less the entire field back to him. The top 6 only separated by 1 second. But Mayer's still doing a phenomenal job at keeping this race lead here at Richmond, trying to score Tony Stewart Racing its first Camping World Truck Series victory. On lap 181, Johnny Sauter tries to make a look down to the bottom of the 38 truck of Todd Gillen, going for 2nd spot. But Gillen does something that we haven't seen all night. He clears the 13 of Johnny Sauter up on the outside of the racetrack. Gillen still holding on to that 2nd spot here at Richmond. Then on lap 182, the number 16 truck of Austin Hill slows up the front runners just a little bit, and that once again allows the 13 of Johnny Sauter to get to the inside of the 38 of Todd Gillen. This time he uses the 16 of Hill as a pick into turn 1, and Johnny Sauter officially takes up the 2nd spot, with Todd Gillen now in a tough position, getting stuck behind the lap truck of Austin Hill. And by lap 188, the 5 truck of Denny Hamlin has made his way back up into the top 10. He is now 2.8 seconds off the tailgate of race leader Sam Mayer. Lap 191, the 61 truck of Max McLaughlin gets to the inside, the 13 of Johnny Sauter, battles him down the back straightaway, but then McLaughlin takes away the 2nd spot through turns 3 and 4 here at Richmond. Now he has his sights set on the 14 truck of Sam Mayer, who's still trying to hold on and potentially make it all the way to the finish on this cycle. And unfortunately for Johnny Sauter, he was being freight trained up on the outside line after being moved up there by Max McLaughlin, and he has already dropped outside of the top 5 after just 4 laps of being up there. Lap 198, the 33 truck of Ryan Truex has to come down pit road for a flat tire. However, no caution flag comes out. And by lap 205, you can really tell how much Sam Mayer is backing down the pace of the trucks behind him. He's trying his hardest to stay out front and keep that track position, as now there's a battle for 3rd spot as Todd Gillen shoots by the 31 of Ty Dillon for the position. But still, Max McLaughlin has not been able to figure out a way around that 14 truck of Mayer, but you have to watch out for that 5 truck of Denny Hamlin. He is now a second and a half off the tailgate of the 14 of Sam Mayer, and he is closing very quickly, now already up into 6th position. And how about this on lap 209? You have Timothy Peters' teammate, Camden Murphy, running the number 8 truck for Nemco Motorsports in 8th position. Great job right there for Nemco, having both of their trucks rather competitive this weekend. Lap 211, the 38 truck of Todd Gillen makes the move to the inside, the 61 of Max McLaughlin, taking up the 2nd position. Still, though, he has to make his way around the 14 of Sam Mayer, as the 5 of Denny Hamlin has made his way up into 5th position. He's now within just about 1 second of the race leader. And on lap 216, because the lap truck of Dawson Cram, just take a look at your top 5 runners from Sam Mayer back to the 5 of Denny Hamlin. They're only separated by 3/4 of a second. 5 trucks under a blanket for the race lead here at Richmond, and it's nowhere near over yet. Mayer's still doing everything he can to hold on to that race lead in the 14 for Tony Stewart Racing. Lap 220, the 88 truck of Matt Crafton runs all the way down in 25th position, while his biggest competition in points, Sheldon Creed, right now runs in 12th spot, battling side by side with Michael Self. So right now, this could be a very big day in points for Sheldon Creed, as he is now 2 points off the tailgate of the 14 for Tony Stewart Racing. And how about this on lap 221? You have Timothy Peters' teammate, Camden Murphy, running the number 8 truck for Nemco Motorsports in 8th position. Great job right there for Sheldon Creed, once again closing that gap and following Richmond, even knowing that right now he will not assume the point lead. He will close up that gap to potentially take advantage of any mistakes that Crafton could make at Myrtle Beach, Daytona Beach, or Daytona International Speedway, because we have 3 pretty big wild cards to end the regular season here in the Camping World Truck Series. Lap 224, the 61 truck of Max McLaughlin gets down to the inside, the 38 of Todd Gilliland, back down to the start-finish line, and he takes up the second position. But look at who followed suit down on the inside of the 61 of Max McLaughlin. That was the 5 truck of Denny Hamlin, who has now taken up the 3rd spot, closing within 1 second of race leader Sam Mayer, who has actually started to gap the field once again. Maybe he started to get back up on the steering wheel, I guess you could say, once he started to see the 5 truck of Denny Hamlin, the bright red truck in his rearview mirror. But Sam Mayer definitely has his work cut out for him to not only save enough gas to make it to the finish, but stay ahead of that 5 truck of Hamlin, as there was contact between Grant Enfinger and Ty Dillon. But Hamlin is certainly the one to watch in the closing laps here at Richmond. And on lap 228, the 98 truck of Grant Enfinger gets down to the inside of the 38 of Todd Gilliland and takes up the 4th position with this move. And by lap 135, the entire top 3 runners are under a blanket right now. Mayer holds just barely a 0.2 of a second gap above the 61 of McLaughlin. Hamlin is only 0.3 back from Mayer, and McLaughlin is in between them. An incredible 3-truck battle with now just 15 laps to go here at Richmond. Onto the front straightaway with now just 10 laps to go here at Richmond. Hamlin makes the move to the inside of the 61 of Max McLaughlin into the first turn. And through turns 1 and 2, Denny Hamlin is now going to assume the 2nd spot here at Richmond, with now his sights set on the 14 of Sam Mayer, who, remember, is in a tight fuel situation, as well as the 38 of Todd Gilliland. Hopefully they have saved enough to make it to the finish. And look at who's following suit on the inside of the 61 of Max McLaughlin with Denny Hamlin. It's the 98 of Grant Enfinger now taking up the 3rd position. And Sam Mayer did a fantastic job at defending the inside line from the number 5 truck of Denny Hamlin lap after lap. However, with 5 laps to go, it was really either run out of gas or coming for a splash and go. So unfortunately for Sam Mayer, after doing a fantastic job at holding off the field here at Richmond, Mayer has to pit from the lead with just 5 laps remaining. Heartbreak for this number 14 team. And so now it's a battle between Cup Series regular Denny Hamlin and the 98 truck of Grant Enfinger. Lap 347, the 38 of Gilliland comes down pit road as well. Gilliland could not make it to the finish either, and he was running in 3rd spot. Through turns 3 and 4, the white flag now waves here at Richmond. The 98 of Grant Enfinger is within 1 truck length of the number 5 truck of Denny Hamlin, although he runs it just a little bit too deep down into turn number 1. Hamlin running a defensive line down on the inside. Through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Enfinger is there, but it is not going to be enough. Denny Hamlin onto the front straightaway, sees the checkered flag, and will win here in the ToyotaCare 250 in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And even though it was a Cup Series ringer, Hamlin has scored Phoenix Racing its first NASCAR Camping World Truck Series victory as an organization. A great job for Hamlin to do it. This team does not have any Joe Gibbs Racing support. Hamlin comes out here and scores the victory for James Finch and Company in that number 5 DoorDash Toyota Tundra. Great job for that organization. Enfinger took home a close 2nd place finish. That's going to be big in the points. Max McLaughlin in 3rd, Ty Dillon in 4th, and Johnny Sauter rounding out the top 5. Another top 5 finish for Sauter. His first one since Watkins Glen, and I believe his only 2nd of the season. And so even knowing that Denny Hamlin did take home the victory here at Richmond Raceway, a NASCAR Cup Series ringer, I think the biggest takeaway overall is Sam Mayer's ability to hold off the entire field for more than 100 laps here at Richmond, including drivers of the caliber such as Denny Hamlin. Staying out in front of that field on older rubber than more or less the majority of the trucks that he was racing with. It was a very incredible job by Sam Mayer. Just was a few laps short on gas. They needed one more caution flag period to try and make it to the finish with as much gas as they had. But Sam Mayer is definitely proving why people such as Tony Stewart have so much belief in this kid. He is, in fact, GM's top prospect right now outside of Sheldon Creed. and he is definitely showing off his ability in that number 14 truck. Just did not quite have the gasoline to get the job done here at Richmond. But also a great job for Denny Hamlin, scoring the victory here at Richmond for Phoenix Racing. He only led 8 laps here in the ToyotaCare 250, and scoring the victory for an organization who has never won in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and for a team that is not associated with Joe Gibbs Racing. So it's not like you could say that he had the truck with the most money, I guess you could say, out here, but he brings a needed boost to Phoenix Racing after all the troubles they've had this season. Even here at Richmond, they blew the engine on the number 09 truck of Stephen Parsons. It's been a tough year ever since they got runner-up in the Daytona 500 with Parsons, but Denny Hamlin taking home the victory here at Richmond might be the boost that they needed here in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at the very least. And also, I'm sure the funding that they got from having sponsors such as DoorDash and FedEx represented on this truck is big to them as well. In your regular season point standings following the ToyotaCare 250, with Matt Crafton's tough finish and Sheldon Creed outplacing him by quite a few positions, the point gap has now been closed to 21 points, separating Matt Crafton and Sheldon Creed. Remember that there are 3 races remaining in the regular season in the Camping World Truck Series: Myrtle Beach, Daytona Beach, and Daytona International Speedway, so there's still a lot of time left to get the job done. But look farther back behind Creed. Ben Rhodes is now 25 points within the point lead, and Grant Enfinger is 27 points back from Matt Crafton because of his second-place finish to Hamlin here at Richmond. So now we genuinely have 4 trucks within great mathematical contention of winning the regular season championship with 3 races remaining, because with those 3 races left to gain or lose points, anyone in that top 4 could take home that regular season championship. And if Timothy Peters, let's say, makes a big enough stride in these final 3 races, even he could get the job done, being just 59 points out. Gibbs on back likely are outside of the possibility of making it, but if the final 3 races get crazy enough, they might just be able to pull off something special in these final 3 races of the regular season. So, just to reiterate the point margins, Creed is 21 points back from the point lead, Ben Rhodes 25 points out, Enfinger 27, Timothy Peters 59 points out, Ty Gibbs 64 points out of the point lead, Ty Dillon picked up 2 spots in points here at Richmond, up to 7th. He is now 65 points out of the point lead. Christian Eck is still in 8th, 73 points out. He gets a tiebreaker above Parker Kligerman, who failed to make the race here at Richmond. Kligerman lost 4 spots in points due to his DNQ, and he loses the tiebreaker because Eckes has 2 wins compared to Kligerman's 0 this season. And finally, Casey Mears rounds out your top 10 in points. He is 90 points out of the point lead. And by the way, Dawson Cram actually picked up 2 spots in points here at Richmond, all the way up to 12th position, even knowing that he wrecked and had a tough day. Now in your playoff standings, obviously Hamlin's win does not affect this playoff grid because Hamlin is a Cup Series competitor. This win does not count towards the playoffs in this series. He's declared for Cup Series points. So Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes, Christian Eckes, Austin Hill, Stuart Friesen, Sheldon Creed, Grant Enfinger, Timothy Peters, Ty Gibbs, Casey Mears, Ryan Truex, Dawson Cram, and Brennan Poole are the 13 drivers locked into the playoffs so far via their wins this season. Ty Dillon now moves into the best of the rest position, 49 points above that cutoff line. Parker Kligerman, with his DNQ here at Richmond, is now 41 points above the cutoff line. That's almost a full race, but not quite. Ty Dillon actually does have a full race above the cut line at 49 points. Austin Theriault has now moved back into the playoffs. He is 4 points above the cut line. Brett Holmes is now 4 points on the outside looking in. Ty Majeski is now 23 points on the outside looking in as well after his loose wheel trouble here at Richmond. John Hunter Nemechek, after being forced to sit out of this race once again due to his penalties at the Milwaukee Mile, he was substituted by Derek Griffith here at Richmond. He is now 49 points out of making the playoffs, and Zane Smith is still 55 points out of making the playoffs following Richmond. And so now we get to move on to my personal favorite segment of the show, Q&A. Welcome back to Post Tech. Before I get on to the Q&A segment, I got to give you the disclaimer. If I mispronounce any names or handles, I do apologize, but it's bound to happen. Now, question number 1 from RFJ. Will Kaulig Racing run 2 cars next year full-time in NASCAR's Cup Series? I personally think it's going to be 1 full-time car, most likely with Justin Haley pulling him out of Spire Motorsports. They kind of leased the driver out this season. And having a second car on a majority season schedule. And what that means is just skipping about 10 or so races, but running quite a few on the schedule, likely sharing the car between AJ Allmendinger and Jeb Burton, getting kind of the best of their Xfinity Series program running a few races with each driver, just ensuring that they can get a good finish with each competitor. Because, obviously AJ has a strong suits on road courses. Jeb Burton's a very good short track and super speedway competitor. You get to kind of balance that with a second car, and I think that's what Kaulig wants to do. They want to have options with a second car and a full-time car next season with Justin Haley. Because as you know, they've run this season with a partnership with Spire Motorsports. Next year, I think that partnership is going to go away, and Spire and Kaulig are going to operate as separate operations with this whole next-gen car coming in. Because this year, all the, more or less Kaulig's just been throwing money at Spire Motorsports. I think next season it's going to be Spire operating their own program, likely still keeping the 77, most likely keeping driver Corey LaJoie, and then Kaulig Racing running their full-time car, and then the part-time program majority schedule, like 26 or so races with drivers Jeb Burton, AJ Allmendinger, and whoever else they go with in their NASCAR Xfinity Series program. And so the next question from Switchblade, with Ford looking to replace the current F-150 body next season, could we see them switch to a Ford Raptor template? So next season, what their goal is here with the Ford F-150, they've had a big lack of front-end downforce, that being the right front and left front flaring. They are kind of restricted on how they can flare those body panels out, because in the Camping World Truck Series, we still use metal bodies. We do not use composite bodies like the NASCAR Xfinity Series uses, or like the Cup Series is going to use next year on the next-gen car. So what they're looking to do is have NASCAR allow them to flare out the left and right front fenders just a little bit more so they can get more front end downforce. So they can do that with the same exact body. They're just looking for a slightly different rule change. Likely that rule is going to come into effect in the final 10 races of the Camping World Truck Series. Ford's done a lot of lobbying about this. They're not actually looking to change the body overall, and they're certainly not going to change the nameplate, even though I'd like to see that. Just for the sake of being different. They just want more front-end downforce from the current bodies that they have. So they're just looking to increase that front-end downforce. NASCAR to change a slight rule to give the Fords more front-end downforce. The way the Camping World Truck Series is ran, the way we work the bodies and the downforce of each manufacturer, is a lot like how it used to work about 30 years ago in the Cup Series, when NASCAR would judge how much downforce each type of body has. Say, the Taurus is developing too much downforce. Well, we force them to, cut back the rear spoiler a little bit, or we allow the Monte Carlo to run more spoilers, stuff like that. It's those slight adjustments to keep the field competitive but still different. That's what they used to do in the Cup Series many, many years ago, and that's what they're trying to do in the Camping World Truck Series to this day. So that's why they're likely going to give the Fords the allowance to flare out the right and left front fenders a little bit more than the other body styles, because they are at a downforce deficit. So that's what Ford is lobbying NASCAR to be able to do. That rule change is likely going to come into effect starting at Darlington when the playoffs begin. But I would like to see them maybe start marketing the Raptor, but I doubt it happening. Now, question number 3 from Charlie. Well, this Truck Series season has been very unpredictable. Who do you say has impressed the most? Well, there's been a lot of impressive teams this season. On Point, Nemco, and even Halmar Friesen, to name a few. But the most impressive has been Cram Racing Enterprises with Dawson Cram. They put that organization together last season. And absolutely out of nowhere, buying some GMS equipment, they are more or less front runners every single week. And they finally scored that victory at Michigan, which is why they're now locked into the playoffs. Even though they've run into some struggles lately, they've started to get into accidents, which was not typical of Dawson Cram to start the season. With that victory that he got at Michigan, those accidents don't really matter that much in the point standing. So I think Dawson Cram and Cram Racing Enterprises have absolutely been the most impressive of any team and driver this season, going from nothing to front runners this year. Because obviously Nemco and On Point picked up a whole lot from last season, and as I mentioned, Halmar Friesen as well, taking 2 victories on the season already, both being dirt races. But Dawson Cram has absolutely put together a great Camping World Truck Series operation, and they have been the most impressive of the season, going from zero to hero, I guess you could say. Now, question number 4 from the Alex Mill. Could we see Jay Robinson, former owner of Premium Motorsports, return to NASCAR anytime in the future? I kind of doubt too much out of Jay Robinson. I think that, his multiple runs as being an owner in NASCAR's National Series, he's kind of sort of done with that. It took him, a 20-some year journey to get up to a Cup Series owner. Recently, his organization was bought out by Rick Ware. But Robinson never exactly had the most funding, and that was the big problem and the reason that he sold off to Rick Ware Racing. So in the modern day, where the field's getting more and more competitive, it's becoming harder and harder actually to make the field nowadays when we have 50-some cars showing up every week. And that's in every series, more or less, except Xfinity. I don't exactly see Jay Robinson wanting to involve himself in NASCAR anytime soon. Potentially an Xfinity Series program or ARCA deal, but I don't expect a Truck or Cup Series program just with how difficult it's been over the last few years to make the field in those two series. It's highly competitive and not exactly conductive to new teams because of the big learning curve of getting competitive. Potentially, that everybody's talking about the next-gen car kind of leveling that playing field, but still, when you have showing up to Daytona 60-some cars, you don't exactly want to take the risk of putting together a program and then missing the field and having it be all for naught. So I think Robinson would like to go for an Xfinity Series or ARCA program if he does come back. I've heard no reports about him wanting to come back to NASCAR competition, but my bet would be on those two divisions if he does, in fact, want to come back to ownership. Question number 5 from Closed Captions Available. Is Speed Station looking to cover all 3 NASCAR National Tours next season, or do they plan to stick with only Cup and Truck action with the addition of SRX? So I will say this, it's a little bit early for us to announce what we're going to do next season. We like to leave that until later towards the winter, once we start to get into winter testing, what we're actually planning on doing. It makes for kind of a big announcement show, I guess you could say. But the SRX is very, very high on our list of things to broadcast. It seems like a fantastic series that is only going to pick up over time, and so the SRX is definitely on top of our list of new series to broadcast. The NASCAR Xfinity Series has a little bit of work to do when it comes to getting more competitive because there's been kind of struggles with car count as of late. Obviously the Truck Series and NASCAR Cup Series have 60-some show up to Daytona, while we only had about 45 Xfinity Series cars show up for the Beef What's for Dinner 300. So I will say this, that SRX, I think, has a lot of good things going for it, giving back to the short track racing community on a national scale, and that, in my opinion, is my biggest interest for future broadcasts of our company. Question number 6. Also from Closed Captions Available, because of the crash fest at the Milwaukee Mile, is NASCAR planning on putting resin down in the bottom groove for the following race next season, or repaving the rest of the track in its entirety? So the plan for the Milwaukee Mile is to repave the whole thing. As you know, the more or less third all the way up to the wall grooves were just dust when we went to the Milwaukee Mile. The inside grooves of the racetrack were repaved, but everything up there was extremely old asphalt. It was dusty, it was rough, it was very hard to get a grip up there. Drivers were just sliding up the racetrack and up into the outside wall every time they tried to make a move up there. So next year, NASCAR's plan is to more or less completely repave the racetrack to try and improve the racing there, because the racing, when it was conducted on the newer asphalt, was very high quality, but once you got out of the new asphalt and into the old stuff, the 40-year-old pavement up there, all it was up there was dust, and he just plowed right up into the outside wall. So next season, the plan is to return to that racetrack, but it will have a completely new sheet of asphalt. So it ought to be interesting coming back to Milwaukee with a completely new repave. That racetrack has not been repaved in a number of years, and so it will definitely change the dynamic of racing, but it's going to improve it based off of what we had this season, because the racetrack was almost unusable outside of the second groove. So having a whole new sheet of asphalt on that racetrack is going to bring the racing a lot more competitive for the 2022 Camping World Truck Series season. Now, question number 7. It's a two-parter from Switchblade. With Johnson looking at a full-time return to NASCAR in 2022, could Lowe's also make a return to the sport? So we haven't quite heard anything about Lowe's coming back, but we definitely know that they have to be interested in a driver of the caliber of Jimmy Johnson, because he's starting to come back into his form. As you can tell, leaving Hendrick Motorsports was quite possibly a blessing for Johnson, coming back at least this season for the Brickyard 400, finishing in second position to Matt Benedetto. Strategy got him up front, too, so it was a whole team effort in that number 92 car, the fourth car for Chip Ganassi Racing, more or less their reserve team. It was a very impressive performance out of that organization to get Johnson up front and to come home with almost a victory. They almost got to Benedetto. If they would have had one more lap, they would have got him. So Jimmy Johnson likely is going to bring that whole Carvana sponsorship and all the NTT data programs and stuff like that he's ran in his IndyCar part-time season this season at Chip Ganassi Racing. I doubt Lowe's coming back at least on a full-time basis. But I think that Lowe's is certainly interested in Jimmy Johnson because he's, like I mentioned, finally back into race-winning and maybe even championship-winning form coming into the 2022 season. That next-gen car is only going to benefit him because it's very, very similar to the Gen 4 cars that we ran when Johnson was at his height. And even though there's a lot of technological differences, more resembling modern passenger vehicles, what's really similar to the Gen 4 cars is the clearance. These cars are going to have an actual ride height requirement of 4 inches from the frame height. It's a lot like what we used to run. So, given the fact that these cars are not going to be sealed straight off to the ground, Jimmy Johnson is likely going to take a liking to these race cars because they're very similar to the race cars that he won his first 2 championships with full-time in 2006 and on a part-time basis in 2007 and what was then NASCAR's Nextel Cup Series. So with Johnson finding that speed back in the Gen 6 car at Chip Ganassi Racing in that number 92, getting with Chip Ganassi Racing full-time replacing Kurt Busch next season, which is the current rumor and likely going to happen, in a car that resembles the cars that he was running at the height of his career, sounds like a great combination to me personally. Now, next question, will Jan Magnussen return to Starcom Speed Station full-time in 2022? I doubt a full-time program. We are kind of looking at running 4 full-time cars next season, and with the 4 full-time car requirement being removed next year, we're likely looking at getting a 5th car part-time at the very least, because the 4-car rule is most likely going to go away next season because you have to qualify for every race. You always take that risk if you run a 5th car of maybe knocking out one of your full-time competitors. So the risk is there versus reward. So NASCAR is likely going to get rid of the 4-car rule for that very reason. It's not, automatic money, I guess you could say, to try and lock out as many spots on the entry list as possible, like when Jim Smith tried to run 7 trucks at Homestead back in 2003. If you recall that was a big controversy, but still, it's not like you're going to get a huge benefit from running that many vehicles because you could lock out one of your, say, championship contenders from making the field because your 5th part-time car made it. Say Stewart-Haas Racing. We're in the middle of the playoffs. Just a hypothetical scenario. Stewart-Haas Racing runs a 5th car for Riley Herbst, and he knocks out Kevin Harvick in qualifying. Well, you took the risk, and that's something that we could see next season, is the 5th car knocking out one of their better full-time competitors, and that's the risk that you take with running more than 4 entries in one weekend. So likely Jan Magnussen is going to return to our team, at least for the road courses next season, likely for the Daytona 500 as well, but I doubt a full-time program in 2022. We're also looking to maybe get rid of that number 55 as well. We think that it's bad luck. Going off of the luck that Ross Chastain and Ty Majeski has had as of late, we're potentially going to change numbers next season because it's not just the fact that Chastain's car is painted green, because Majeski's is red, white, and blue, and we're still having bad luck. So we've started to blame it on the number here at Starcom Speed Station. Next question from RFJ. Could we see Richard Petty Motorsports still switch to Toyota as initially or as originally expected? So I really doubt Richard Petty Motorsports going to a Toyota program. That rumor was thrown around just a little bit, but you have to remember how deep their connection is with Richard Childress Racing now. It's a lot like how deep the connection between Wood Brothers Racing and Team Penske is, a.k.a. they're just another car from their stable. The number 21 at the Wood Brothers is built in Team Penske's shop, just as the number 43 at Richard Petty Motorsports is currently built at RCR's shop. Next season, though, that stuff's going to change with the whole next-gen car. Really, anybody can put it together because it's a spec program. However, RPM is going to continue that connection that it has with Richard Childress Racing in the future. It's kind of a long-term deal as well. We don't know if Myatt Snyder is going to return there next season. He might move into the mothership with Austin Dillon allegedly leaving the organization at the end of the season. However, Richard Petty Motorsports will stay a GM team as long as Richard Childress Racing does. So, more or less, it's whatever RCR does, RPM will follow at this current juncture. Next question as well from RFJ. What tracks could be on the chopping block for all 3 National Series next season? So far, just the few road courses that I mentioned, like Palm Beach International Raceway, New Hampshire Motor Speedway Road Course, and Circuit of the Americas. Those look to be the few tracks that are really on the chopping block. The short track races that have been ran in the Camping World Truck Series as additions to the schedule, such as like Knoxville, Milwaukee, even though there was some track trouble there, and Memphis have been big crowd pleasers. So I don't think that any of those races are going to be going away anytime soon. There have been rumors of tracks such as like Slinger getting ran in the Truck Series, maybe Thompson Speedway, stuff like that. So there are likely a few tracks that will likely lose a few races in the next few seasons, but it would just be losing races in lower divisions. Say, I don't know, here's a hypothetical scenario for you again. A track like Kansas maybe could potentially lose a Truck Series date, and maybe a Thompson Speedway could take over that date. Something like that would maybe happen in the lower division. But just the few tracks that I mentioned, the road courses primarily are the ones that are on the chopping block right now. NASCAR is getting very satisfied with our current scheduling, so I wouldn't expect too many changes for next season. Some slight ones, but I wouldn't expect too many. Next question from RFJ as well. What will Chevy do when they kill off, I'm assuming you meant to say, the Chevy Camaro? What is the future of their NASCAR program? What model could you see them using? Well, personally, it's a little bit too early for me to predict what model they're going to use, even knowing that we work directly with GM and Chevrolet. They have not really discussed any of those programs as of yet. We have a few more years of the Camaro still left. I believe it's 2023 when that model gets killed effectively. What is the future of their NASCAR program? So we're still full speed ahead with the whole GM NASCAR program. Likely, and this sort of stuff has happened before, like if you recall back in 2009 when GM gave up factory support of the Camping World Truck Series and Xfinity Series for a little while. They make the announcement pretty soon before they actually go and do it, so we'll know probably in 2023 whether or not they have a future in NASCAR. To my knowledge, they are planning on really continuing their future in at least NASCAR's Cup Series. We don't know about the other divisions. They'll likely still at least pursue marketing the Chevy Silverado in the Truck Series. I have no idea about their Xfinity Series program, though. That's kind of the biggest concern. But the future of the NASCAR program still looks to be pretty bright. I currently do not know what model we'll be using once we stop using the Chevrolet Camaro, but I'm sure that GM and everybody at General Motors will inform us within the next few seasons, because the way the bodies work nowadays, with the next-gen car, they're going to be 5-star bodies, so they're more or less just produced from a mold. It's all a spec part, so it really doesn't matter necessarily what body we run, because those are supplied from 5-star. So really, GM can make any decision that they want on that, send those type of blueprints to 5-star, get them to produce those bodies, then the teams, such as us here at Starcom Speed Station, get shipped those bodies and use them on the race cars, because the chassis aren't going to be any different. They're going to be from Technique, obviously, because of the next-gen car, so that doesn't change very much. So unlike in the modern day, when a manufacturer changes what type of vehicle they use, starting with this whole next-gen car, when they change what type of vehicle they market with, it's really just going to be a change in downforce parameters than anything else, because all you have to worry about is the different stylization, how that changes where the air hits the body. It's not really going to change that much, so I think the GM's got a plan. We obviously don't know what it's going to be yet, but the transfer is not going to be anywhere nearly as difficult as it would be if, say, we kept this Gen 6 car going and they switched to a different type of vehicle. It's not going to be nearly that hard with the next-gen car going from one car to the other, because the chassis doesn't need to be modified in any which way, obviously. They never had to be before, but even less in this case because it's a spec part. And GM's program in NASCAR is likely going to stay together for the future, because they've invested a lot into it as of recent. So I don't think there's any cause for concern out of GM fans about what their direction is in the future of NASCAR. And so now the final question from NASCAR fan 88 official: could it be possible for Speed Station to cover the American Grand Prix for Formula One, depending on where it is? That's definitely something I've been interested in. Never covered a Formula One Grand Prix, and that's something that's kind of been high up on my list of things to fortunately be a part of broadcasting. And since there's no real official American partner of Formula One broadcasts, currently people just get the feed from Sky Sports. It's potentially possible that we could put together a program to broadcast the American Grand Prix in Formula One. That's something I've thought about. All of us here at the company have thought about as well. And it'd be something that we'd very much be interested in as a one-off all season. The biggest Formula One race, obviously, of the U.S. every year, because we only get one a season, unless with this whole Miami Grand Prix happening, we might get the Miami GP and Circuit of the Americas in the same season. Then that'd change things just a little bit. But Liberty Media is a U.S. company, so that you can definitely tell that they're putting a lot of emphasis into their home, nation as a means of marketing, because you got to admit the U.S. market is something that F1's always kind of struggled with, and they're trying to build up that market by quite a bit in the last 10 years with the construction of COTA. Now they're getting the whole Miami GP thing going. There's a lot of things to look forward to in the U.S. when it comes to Formula One, and I think that we very well could end up being a partner of them in their quest to broaden their horizons in the United States. And so that more or less does it for episode number 19 of Post Tech. We hope that you have enjoyed our return to Post Tech action. The next time you'll be seeing us, we'll be back at Richmond Raceway in the NASCAR Cup Series covering the Toyota Owners 400. Second to last race of the regular season, the penultimate event, and we're getting very, very close to the playoffs. Keep your eyes on that regular season point battle between Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. It's not over yet. We got 2 full races left and only 1 spot right now left up for grabs in the playoffs. It's barely being held on by Joey Logano on the number 22 team. So we'll see you all out at Richmond Raceway for the Toyota Owners 400.